You good? Switch.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here today. Let's get a few housekeeping things in order. If you would, please either turn your cell phones off or put them on silent or vibrate.
Follow instructions.
The restrooms are down the hall and to the right. If anyone needs to use the restrooms. Tonight, primarily, the order will be primarily that there were some questions that were given beforehand, and there were some questions that were taken at the table. Does anyone else have any questions in the audience at this time right now that were not taken at the table? Okay, they'll get them from you. And the format will be that the moderator, Senator Saab, will read the questions. If you will stand when he calls your name to read the questions. That's basically how we'll do this format for tonight. The other thing is we will be beginning this in just a minute. Thank you again. Thank y'all for being here, and thank you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate you coming to this town hall. Congressman Cliven has served in leadership and has served in the House since 1992. And we really have appreciated this service in this area. Of course, he served in leadership and Majority Whip from 2007 to 2010, and from 2019 to 2022. And as Assistant Democratic Leader from 2011 until 2018, and again in 2023 until March of 2024, when he decided to give it up and take a step back. So we appreciate him for all of what he's done so far. Also, right now, the committees that Congressman Cliven served on are appropriations, and on the energy and water development and related agencies, the interior, environment, and related agencies, and transportation, housing and urban development, and related agencies, and he's a ranking member of subcommittees of that committee. So at this time, if there are any county party chairs here, I'd like to recognize, I see the Wadesboro County Chair here, it's Wilson. Any other chairs from any other counties are here at this time? Thank you. Also, we have the supervisor from Wadesboro County that's here. Thank you. I see we have our Florence County Economic Development person here. Thank you for coming. Council persons, another person will be greeted later. If there are any other persons that I missed, I'm sorry, but if you want to stand, that's fine. Thank you very much. But at this time, we will now have the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be done by Ms. Taylor McKenzie. She's a rising seventh grader. Ms. McKenzie. If you will all stand, please.
Please place your right hand over your heart and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on. Mike, you up.
She's
Come on.
from Lake City. She's the mayor's daughter. So,
Come on, Madam Mayor. Come on.
so now, next we will have a welcome from the mayor.
Okay, come on. You bragging.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is truly my honor to welcome you all to Lake City for this important town hall meeting with our distinguished Congressman, the Honorable James E. Clyburn. We are proud to host you here at the LC 278 Community and Cultural Center, a place that celebrates the heart, culture, and diversity of our community. As we gather today, we do so with reverence. Yesterday, we paused as a nation to observe Memorial Day, honoring the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. We honor them by continuing the work of building a stronger, more united community. Congressman Clyburn, thank you for your continued commitment to public service and for bringing your voice and vision here to Lake City. Your leadership has shaped our region and inspired generations. Your leadership and lifelong dedication to uplifting voices across South Carolina, especially in communities like ours, continue to inspire us. We are deeply grateful for your presence and the opportunity to engage with you directly. Town hall meetings like this remind us that government is not just something that happens in Washington or Columbia. It happens right here in rooms like this one, when people come together to speak, to listen, and to act. We are grateful for everyone's presence today and look forward to the dialogue and ideas that will be shared today. I also want to thank the incredible City of Lake City staff who worked diligently with Congressman Clyburn's team to bring this town hall meeting to life. Events like this require behind the scenes coordination, and our staff rose to the occasion with excellence, professionalism, and care. Thank you, staff. Now I want to recognize our local elected and appointed officials who are with us today. Please stand as I call you by group. I dare not call you by name because I'm gonna miss someone. Lake City City Council members, please stand. Florence County and City Council members. Any Florence County and City Council members. Winsburg County and City Council members. Thank you. Any Florence County School Board trustees. Thank you. And a very special welcome to any of our student government leaders from our local high schools are here today, our future leaders. You please stand.
Oh, great.
Thank you for your public service, and we really appreciate all that you do in your continued service and dedication to our people. To our constituents from here and the surrounding areas, thank you for being here. Your presence matters, your voice matters, and together we are building the kind of community we can all be proud of. Welcome again to the City of Lake City, and may today's conversation be both empowering and impactful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we have greetings from the Honorable Roger Kirby, District 101.
Good evening, everyone. So good to see you. Greetings. I bring you greetings from the South Carolina House of Representatives. I represent District 101, which includes Lake City area, Williamsburg County, and Berkeley County. It is my honor and my joy to be here with all of you this evening, to hear from what I think we can only consider to be a political giant of our times. Congressman Clyburn will go down in the history books as one of the most powerful legislators that has come our way in these generations. It's a distinct honor to be here to welcome you this evening. I bring you again, just welcome to Lake City, which is my home. And just, I see a lot of my friends from Williamsburg County sitting over there too, that are here, both elected leaders, and of course Moretta's here. It's great to see you. All of our Lake City team here. It's great to see all of you here. Congressman, you know, it's amazing when you look out, these faces, these are the people who care about this community, who care about where we're going, how we're getting there, and that's the reason they're here. Thank you all for being here. I'm not going to be long because you don't want to hear me, you want to hear him. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, with that, thank you very much. One thing I would like to do is, any of the mayors from any other towns, please stay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Now we'll have the opening remarks from Senator Ronnie Sabb, Senate District 32. And after that, will be the introduction of Congressman Clyburn, the opening remarks by Congressman Clyburn. And from that part, we'll start going to the question and answer session, and we'll continue until that ends. Thank you very much, and again, thank all of you for being here tonight. We really appreciate you coming, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank
you.
Give Mr. Barnes a round of applause. Thank you all so much. I really consider it an honor and a privilege to be here on stage with one whom we look up to and we admire. I'm Ronnie Sabb. I'm the Senator for District 32, which includes 6 counties, all of which I won't name, but Williamsburg and of course Florence is a part of Senate District 32. I would ask that not only we recognize those servant leaders who are currently serving, but can I get the servant leaders of the past who've held political offices to please also stand.
Stand up, George.
Senator Glover, Cora Brown, thank you all so much. Thank you for your service and thank you all for being here. I was actually asked to do some introducing to the gentleman to my right, but so many good things have been said and a lot more can be said. I'd also like to recognize the Congressman's daughter, Ms. Jennifer. If you don't mind, stand, let everybody see you. Always good to see you and good to have you here. But allow me just to say this about Jim Clyburn. To me, he is just one who has done so much for so many, for so long. And I think that's what we appreciate most about him. It didn't hurt that he was reared by a preacher man and adopted all of those principles. And I think it's fair to say that when he looked at the idea of public service, he really didn't look at it as a job, but more of a calling. And he has indeed been true to his calling. So if you all don't mind, please, ma'ams and sirs, join me in welcoming our Congressman, Jim Clyburn. And we'll ask you to just do a remark or two. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, Senator Sabb, for being here. And thank you so much for your friendship over the years. Let me thank all of you who are here this evening, those who are elected, those who are appointed, those who are just here. Thank you so much. The senators recognize my daughter. I'm going to recognize my daughter's husband. Because I want to make sure that he doesn't feel slighted by the time he gets home. Thank you all for being here. Now, he's going to give me a lot of brief for that, but I have to sort of keep it on the light side as often as I can. Let me thank you. Roger Kirby and I go back further than he would like to know, because I go all the way back to his daddy, who I shall never forget, who welcomed me here to Lake City back in 1978 when I was running for Secretary of State, and gave me all the support that anybody could ever imagine. But he tells me that more important than that, his father passed away a couple of years ago, but his mother is here, Mrs. Kirby. Thank you so much for being here. You don't know how glad I am to see you. She has already reached 85, and God willing, come July 21st, I'm gonna catch you. But I don't want you to wait for me. You keep going, and I'll keep chasing. But thank you so much for being here as well. There are other friends that I have that I might point out as we go through. You just met Greg Robinson, who your economic development, who used to be over in Orangeburg. Thank you so much for not being embarrassed to see me, be around me. Mike Tonga, who handles your affairs here up in Washington, at least some of them. Thank you, Mike, for being here as well. Now, I handle most of your affairs in Washington. He handles the administrative stuff. But let me thank you, Mary Lynn, who back in 1978, when I was trying to be Secretary of State, she was part of making sure that the Kirbys become a part of me. Thank you so much for being here. Let me say just a couple of things to you. I have opened every one of these listening sessions with a quote that I have been using a whole lot recently. It's a quote, as many of you know, I've studied history pretty much all of my life. I've taught history for a portion of my life. I just finished writing my third book, which is a book that's reminiscent of our state and nation's history. But there's a quote that I ran across years ago that many of you have heard or have read by a German theologian, Martin Niemöller. That quote I want to open here with tonight, and here it is up on the board for those of you who may not be able to discern it. It says, "First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me." That's right. And there was no one left to speak out for me. That has meant so much to me throughout my entire life, ever since I first came across this quote. And it says, no matter what may be happening around you, who may be the target today, just remember, you could very well be the target tomorrow or the day after that. Now, when all this was going on, Martin Niemöller saw what was happening in Germany, and people just allow it to happen. Oh, well, I'm not. It ain't me. They're going after those over there. And all of a sudden, this ain't me. And finally, Germany was lost. Its old democracy was gone. And we all know what happened. It all led to what we have come to know as World War II. When things are happening around you that you know full well is not fair, it's not right, we can't leave it up to somebody else, because you keep leaving it up to the somebody else, and very soon that somebody else could very well be you. Now, my dad, the fundamentalist minister, used to teach. Now, my staff has got all kinds of stuff for me to say to you tonight. I'm going to say it if it comes out in the questions you want to ask, because I feel moved to say a couple of other things here tonight. My dad had a way of teaching us. He would always say, you lead by precept and example. Now, he thought he was training me for the ministry. And I thought I was going to follow him into the ministry. But like Mary Lynn's brother sitting next to her, Bill, we didn't follow our fathers into the ministry.
Somebody got to listen.
Well, my dad had two rules in our house. He had a lot of other rules, but there were two that I want to share with you tonight. One was every morning before breakfast, we were required to recite a Bible verse. And you couldn't say the same one twice. And on the day that he laid down the rule, he took Jesus' wept off the table. He never told us to read the Bible. He just told us that there's going to be a new Bible verse every morning you sit down at this table. A second thing was every evening before retiring to bed, after homework was done, we had to share with him a current event. We didn't have television, but every afternoon, the Sumter Daily Item, yes, back then the Sumter Daily Item was an afternoon paper. Today it's a morning paper, but back then it was delivered every afternoon. And we had to read that in order to share with him a current event. He never told us what it had to be. It's just that every evening we had to sit down with him or my mother, sometimes both, and share a current event. That's the way I was raised. But Dad would look for things to make a point. And one day, my two brothers and I went with my dad to our local automobile mechanic. Now, my dad had a 1937 Chevrolet. It was a good car. You could drive into a telegram pole and back up and keep going, wouldn't be a dent in it. But it seemed as if every Saturday we would be at Mr. Singleton having that car worked on to get it running for another week. So one day when we were with him, just as Mr. Singleton raised the front end of that car so that he could get under it and get it running for another week, my two brothers and I started playing near the car. And my dad said to us, now boys, I don't want you playing near this car. I have no idea how strong this chain is. It may pop. One of you may get hurt. Go out across the field and play. And so we did. But we weren't going long before we got into a little discussion. Now, if some of you were looking on, you might call it a fight. The three of us got into a little physical discussion. And we didn't know, but my dad was watching us. And before long, my dad called out to us, and he brought the three of us and stood us in front of him. And he had in his hands a piece of cord string. He gave that piece of cord string to my youngest brother, Charles. Said, Charles, I want you to pop this string. Charles struggled and he couldn't pop it. He then took it back and he gave it to John. Said, John, you are 2 years older, you are stronger, you pop the string. John struggled and he couldn't pop it. He then took it back and handed it to me. He said, now, James, you the oldest, you the strongest, you pop the string. I struggled and I couldn't pop it. He then took that piece of cord string back. He put it in the palms of his hands and he began to rub his hands together. And the more he rubbed, the more friction he created. And the more friction he created, the more unraveled that cord string became. And it was not long before that cord string was in 3 pieces. He then took it back. He handed 1 piece to Charles, 1 piece to John, and 1 piece to me. He said, now, sons, pop the string. With very little effort, all 3 of us popped the strings. He said, now, sons, I want this to be a lesson to you for as long as you live. Don't you let the little disagreements that crop up among you cause so much friction until it separates you. Because if you do, the world will pop you apart and you may never know why. I learned that lesson on that day. And just like this quote, that lesson comes to me every day as I travel the state, as I travel this nation. The disagreements are causing too much friction. And if we aren't careful, this world will pop us apart and we'll all be looking at each other wondering what happened. I'm sure that history could very well be unkind to us if we do not learn how to resolve our differences in such a way that we can maintain one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That is what this is about. Now tonight, we gathered to talk a little bit about what is happening and why it's happening. I just left 2 facilities over in King Street. Both of those facilities are making American flags. Embroidery Solutions are making the stars that's on that field of blue. I spent about 90 minutes there. And then I went across the town, the great metropolis of King Street. And there, we went to Valley Forge, where they make the rest of this flag and they're assembling them. And as we were going through that tour, I kept thinking about what a great country this is. I kept thinking about the fact that just yesterday we celebrated Memorial Day. I kept thinking about the fact that the first Memorial Day ever celebrated in this country was in 1865 in Charleston, South Carolina. It was known then as Decoration Day. It was started by the 54th and 55th Regiments, Massachusetts Regiments. Out of the Civil War, both were all Black units headed by two white colonels. Robert Gould Shaw heading up the 54th and Charles Fox heading up the 55th. And they all gathered to celebrate, to honor those who had given the ultimate sacrifice to maintain this nation, which had been founded in 1876. And we're getting ready next year to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of this great nation. This nation is in no need of being made great. It is great. What we've got to decide, how are we going to make the greatnesses of this country accessible and affordable for everybody. If it's health care, we got to make it accessible and affordable for everybody. Housing, we got to make it accessible and affordable for everybody. Energy, accessible and affordable. Education, all the things. We got the greatest educational system to be found in the world. The greatest healthcare system. The problem is, it's not affordable for a lot of people. And it's not accessible to a lot of people. And that's what we got to do. Whether we're in Columbia, in Washington, or Madam Mayor right here in Lake City, how do we go about making this country's greatnesses accessible and affordable? I'm gonna start tonight looking at healthcare. Because healthcare is not accessible to everybody and affordable, we've done things over the years to make it more accessible and more affordable. That's why we have Medicaid. Medicaid that we have just passed a bill in the House of Representatives that would take $735 billion out of Medicaid. That's almost $1 trillion we're taking out of Medicaid. For what? That means that 14 million Americans are going to have their health insurance, and 1 million right here in South Carolina, or to be without health care. And when people say, oh, that's for those people on the other sides of the tracks, well, let me tell you something. That's about children with disabilities. I don't have to ask. There's not a family sitting in here that doesn't have a family member in need of disabilities of one sort or another. If you don't know you got a disability now, just keep on living. Just keep on living. Not only that, nursing home care. Nursing home care, it's Medicaid. That's how we keep the nursing homes alive. Rural hospitals. I don't have to tell you here in Lake City. Ever since I've been in Congress, 32 years, we've been battling over a little hospital right here in Lake City. Go a few miles down the road over in King Street, right there in King Street, trying to keep these rural hospitals open. Medicaid is the number one contributor to keeping rural hospitals open. Medicaid goes away, a lot of rural hospitals are going to be closed, and a lot of nursing home beds go away. And when we talk about nursing home, it ain't just about the beneficiaries. I've been telling my friends up in Washington, when a piece of legislation passes, you need to look at two things. Who are the beneficiaries? It may be the person in the nursing home, in that bed. But guess what? The second thing is who benefits from. Few people I know in need of nursing home care own the nursing home. Few people I know who need rural hospitals own that hospital. So when you look at Medicaid, don't just ask who the beneficiaries are, ask who benefits from it. Now, the day that we pass the resolution to get to this bill, I was being visited by the owner of a rural hospital in another county of South Carolina. So right after the bill passed, I came back to my office. When I got back to the office, he was there waiting for me. And his chief operating officer was with him. And so they said to me, "You think they're going to gut this Medicaid?" I said, "Well, it's going to pass the House. I'm not going to vote for it, but I guarantee you every other Congress member from South Carolina will vote for it. A majority of the House will vote for it. I'm going to vote no." And then the chief operating officer chimed in, "Well, that would be a shame. All the poor people this and the poor people that." And I looked at her, I said, "Yeah, it would be a shame. But let me ask you something. Do you plan to put those nursing home beds, because one whole wing of your hospital is a nursing home care, are you going to put them in mothballs?" So I want you to tell me about the beneficiaries. Let's talk about you. Your benefit. Because when we cut the 735 million, that means you're going to have a whole hospital with nursing home beds in it, in mothballs. So this stuff, it just act. Show me that slide on food stamps. Don't y'all have a about food stamps? Y'all can't find it there. I think I just saw it. Here it is. This bill that just passed the House. It's going to take $300 billion out of supplemental nutrition programs. Now, let me tell you something about supplemental nutrition programs. This may surprise some of you, but I'm gonna just use food stamps. It's now called SNAP, but SNAP ain't nothing but food stamps. That's what it is. Now, SNAP serves 42 million Americans. 600,000 of them are here in South Carolina. SNAP supports 200,000 jobs, farming, manufacturing, transportation, grocery stores, many of which are in those 5,200 retail establishments sitting here in South Carolina. Now, how many people who get food stamps own that farm, that manufacturing plant, that grocery store? How many? I can tell you this, none. They don't own those grocery stores. You take $300 billion out of food stamps and see how many farmers are going to be hurting. How many grocery stores are going to be hurting. But even if you look at the beneficiaries, do you know, this is going to be surprising to you, there are thousands of soldiers. There are thousands of people in the military who, because of the income they're making, they are getting food stamps every day. Food stamps are determined by your income. And there are soldiers over in foreign land today whose spouses and children are here, and the only way they can get a decent meal is through food stamps. That is a fact. Check it. That's what they try to hide. So when they tell you it's about those people over there, oh no. That next child could very well qualify you for food stamps. So we have not done a farm bill in, 6 years? Bavetta, when's the last time we did the farm bill?
2018.
We hadn't done a farm bill since 2018. She keeps up with that. She's from Hemingway. So we are just rolling over. Farmers are hurting. Put up the thing on tariffs, and then I'm going to take a break and start answering questions. Show me that thing on tariffs. This is how I really want you to do. But they got two things on tariffs I got. Soybeans. Over 50% of the soybeans that are grown in this country, not for self-consumption, they leave the country going to Asia, most of them to China. $30 billion in United States ag goods will be impacted by this tariff thing that just went in. Because if you put whatever number it might be today, it's been 5 or 10 different numbers, whatever number it might be today, what you can guarantee is it's going to impact. Now, they've already made the announcement. So look at that bottom thing down here. Archer Daniels Midland soybean plant in Kershaw. That's Camden, y'all. Will be forced to close due to tariffs. They've already announced they are closing. They are closing. And that's not going to be all. Farmers are going to see their soybeans rot in the fields. Now, I'm just dealing with soybeans here, but my staff been up to McLeod Farms up there in Chesterfield County. What's going to happen to them peaches they got up there? We don't eat all them peaches here. They got to ship them peaches. They're making their money on what peaches they can send abroad. And just so you know, Georgia may be the peach state, but we raise more peaches here in South Carolina than they do in Georgia. And my friend, the late John Lewis, I said to John one time, he said, yeah, that's true, I know that. And I'm gonna tell you something else, he said. Don't you tell anybody from Georgia I told you this. He said, but they're better too. So that's what we are faced with here. The last thing I want to show on tariffs, put those automobiles up here. Automobiles. Now, Volvo, there are people, I don't know if you know this or not, but there are people who leave this county, this part of Florence, people who leave Williamsburg County every day, headed down toward Charleston. Some of them stop off at the Volvo plant in Berkeley County. Others of them, I know because I've been in the plant, just like I did today. I've been in that Mercedes-Benz plant, the Sprinter. Every Sprinter made by Mercedes-Benz is made in North Charleston. Every one of them. I'm not talking about the ones in this country. Every one that they make anywhere in the world, they make them in North Charleston, and they got to ship them out of the Charleston port. That's where they're made. Already Volvo announced, because of those tariffs, they're cutting 125 jobs. That's 5%. I hope none of those 125 are from this area. I have no idea where they're from, but they're going to cut those. But there's something else I want to put up here. Here is what Trump's trade advisor said. BMW, they've got, what, 6,000 employees at BMW? And I understand there's like 60,000 jobs in that area impacted by BMW. Here's what he said about Mercedes. The operations of BMW and Mercedes in South Carolina, he says, are bad for our economics. That's what he said. I'm not making it up. He's in quotes there because it came out of his mouth. BMW employs 11,000 workers. That's just BMW up in Greenville-Spartanburg area. 11,000 workers. And I know that there are people who drive up I-26 from Richland County every day going up to BMW to work. Mercedes-Benz employs 1,700 people. And I think I saw somewhere that 11,000 indirect jobs are attributed to Mercedes-Benz. Now they're saying, and yeah, I didn't understand this one. Donald Trump said that a slowdown in port traffic, I was looking right at him when he said it, is a good thing because we'll lose less money. Now, that's what we're up against here. I'm going to close with another quote, and then I'm going to answer any questions y'all got. Martin Luther King Jr., who I met as a 19-year-old college student. I met Martin Luther King Jr. the weekend of October 14th, 15th, and 16th, 1960. He promised us an hour meeting that started around 10 o'clock in the evening. When I left the room, it was around 3 or 4 o'clock the next morning. I call that experience my Saul to Paul transformation. And back in 1963, just before the March on Washington, King had been arrested and was sitting in the Birmingham City Jail when he received a letter from 8 clergymen asking him to leave Birmingham because he was a disruptive force. And they wanted him to leave. And they said to King, "We don't want you to get us wrong. We believe in your cause. We think your cause is right, but your timing is wrong." And then King wrote them back. And he said to this, he said, "You know, time itself is neutral. Time is never right, and time is never wrong. Time is always what we make it." And then he says, "I'm coming to the conclusion that the people of ill will in our society are making a much better use of time than the people of goodwill." That's what he wrote in this letter back in 1963, that the people of ill will were making a much better use of time than the people of goodwill. And then he concluded the thought with these words: "We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people." I'll answer any questions.
What an inspiring opening statement. Let me remind us, please, to silence your phones. If you don't mind, please, ma'am and sir, silence your phones. I wanted to say to Kevin Tisdale of Kingstree, South Carolina, that I believe the congressman in his opening remarks may have answered your question relative to the Farm Bill. But if there's anything else that you wanted to add in addition to that you wanted to direct to the congressman, I give you the floor at this time. Someone will bring you a mic. This is Kevin Tisdale from Kingstree, South Carolina.
Thank you, Senator Sapp. Thank you, Congressman, for hearing my question. The second part to that was, would you be willing to support a state agricultural disaster assistance program, which we do have? It just hasn't been funded since 2015, since the flood.
At the state level,
Yes, sir.
that's for you, Senator. I don't know.
Well, we love getting money from Washington. It typically helps us when it comes to that kind of disaster relief funding. And I'll be candid with you, I do not know whether or not there is funding available in this year's budget as relates to the specific disaster relief question that you ask. And so I tell folks all the time when I'm at a town hall, some questions I'm able to answer off the cuff, others I'm not. And so when I'm not able to answer, I simply confess. and I give you my phone number, and then we can find out for you and then do a follow-up. So if you don't mind, we can do that after the town hall is completed.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Now, we'll say this about your question, though. In this budget that's being proposed, FEMA is being eliminated. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Had a question from Dr. Albert Mims relating to the most vulnerable Medicaid, SNAP, rural health care, and those kinds of things. And so is Dr. Mims here? I think the congressman may have addressed some of your concerns as well. Dr. Mims, good to see you. There's the mic. I'm not sure whether or not the congressman may have fully addressed your question or not, but if there's anything else, the opportunity to ask the congressman is yours.
He addressed it more fully than I anticipated with his initial remarks, but
Thank you.
the thing that concerns me so much with this budget is this absolute disregard for those among us that need the most help. And I think your latter remarks about if we're silent, we're going to be as guilty as those that are trying to do harm to us. But Congressman Clyburn probably remembers meeting with us at Lake City because he was here numerous times to try to help us keep the little hospital open.
Right.
And he came up with money in President Obama's budget for us,
Right.
earmarked, and we could have had a new hospital had we had the political will at the time. And I would like to thank you for all your efforts over the years.
Thank you very much. It's right. Go. I don't mind admitting to you, I say this not just because I'm here, but those meetings I have with you guys about this Lake City Hospital, I don't know if I've ever been more emotionally attached to an effort than that which y'all were putting forth. And it was just a shame that enough people would not come to the table for us to get that done. No matter how much money you get appropriated, people have got to come together to get these things done. But thank you so much for all that you have done. And just know, for whatever time I've got remaining, I'm never going to give up on getting health care to these rural communities. I don't know, you may know my late wife battled diabetes for 30 years. And I've seen what diabetes does. Now, when she passed away, she still had all of her limbs, but her dad was a double amputee when he passed away because of the late detection of diabetes. When I got elected back in 1992, South Carolina led the nation in amputations. We were number one in amputations, all attributed to the late detection of diabetes. And I want to just tell you what converted me on that. I got a phone call one day, and it's from a local doctor in Columbia who asked me if I would stop by his office. And I did. To make a long story short, he set me at his desk. Now, he arranged this before I got there. He arranged for the community health centers down in Sheldon, down near Savannah. And he showed me on his computer what telemedicine could do. He showed me a man sitting down in Sheldon, had his eyes to a device down there, while the doctor looked on the screen in front of us and showed me, looking at this man's eyes, that he was diabetic. Now, this man doesn't know it, but before he leaves his office down there today, they are going to have to do something quickly for him. And he said this to me. He said, now, we're not going to be able to solve the problem we're trying to solve, getting health care into rural communities, until we get telemedicine. We got to have telemedicine. And as I started out of his door, he put his hands on my shoulder and said, by the way, I'm your wife's doctor. I didn't know him. That's how I became converted to this. And that's why when we did the infrastructure bill, everybody was talking about how much money they're going to get for roads and bridges. My nickname on Capitol Hill, and this is a true story, ask anybody on Capitol Hill, on the House or Senate side, they're going to tell you my nickname became Jim Broadband. Because I said that we're not going to pass an infrastructure bill out of this place unless we treat the information highway the same way we treat the interstate highway. And so we got $65 billion in that infrastructure bill for broadband. And then I sat down with the governor, Henry McMaster. We don't talk about it a whole lot, but Henry and I are pretty good buddies. He ain't gonna tell his people that. And I ain't gonna tell my people that. But we got on the phone with each other. And we sat down. I sat down in his office, and he sat in my office more than once to work out how to get broadband into every residence here in South Carolina and every business. And the plan we put together, y'all got another thing up there, a chart we can see. Y'all got that broadband chart. I would like to show you what we've done here, because between these two guys and the governor's office, we've done a magnificent thing. Who's running this thing back there? Y'all going already? Huh? You don't have it? Well, there's I got it. Really, they put together a plan that they told me that in order to get broadband into every home, we needed $650 billion. I'm sorry, $1 million. $650 million. So I sat down with the governor and the broadband office, and we worked out a way to get that money. I wanted to show you what we did because it worked so effectively, but you won't be able to see it until we've got over 400 million. If this administration does not cut the money off, we've got the money in place. And I can tell you right now, we are within 30,000, they tell me 28 to be exact. We're within 30,000 residents to build out South Carolina 100% with broadband. And if we were to do that, here's what that will do. That will connect every home. Now, you know, one of the leading causes of hospitalization is what we call diabetic shock, whatever that. What you call it, Bob? You the nurse. It is when more people find themselves in real problems because of diabetes. And you got it. So let me show you what we've done. Here's what South Carolina received out of that $65 billion. I just told you that the broadband office told us, it's right here, they needed $650 million. Here's what we got. $400 million from the Federal Communications Commission, $400 million. We got another $100 million, or $400 million, I'm sorry, from the, Joe Biden's rescue plan. $400 million, because y'all had the money. We got $100 million from the FCC. Y'all count with me now. That's $500 million. We got another $50 million that y'all appropriated. That's $550 million. Then came the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, called the BEAD program. $551.5 million. That gets us over $1 billion that we've got. What that means is, if it costs $650 million to bill out 100%, we got that much money sitting there that can be used for BEAD. What would that do? That will make broadband affordable, because it takes $650 million to make it accessible. So you got access to it. This other money, 551.5, is to make it affordable. And that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Congressman. Is Miss Emma Bradford here? Miss Emma Bradford
Ms.
from
Bradford.
Lake City, South Carolina. If you will stand, they will hand you a mic and you can direct your question to the congressman.
I think I called the congressman office in the past and asked this question. I wanted to know, is there anything we as voters could do to sue this present administration for not following the Constitution? He's
But
seems to be trampling on our rights, our constitutional rights. And that's my question.
yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I don't know that we can do anything about that, but the courts can. And the courts are. I don't think we've gotten to a real, what people like to say, a real constitutional crisis yet. I think we're headed that way because so far, the courts are holding. But you know, one of the things about history, when I used to teach it, as you can imagine, a lot of people find history boring, including some of my own children. And I used to say to them all the time, the reason we study history is to understand what happened before, so that we can go about the business of preventing it from happening again. And then I used to conclude with them, anything that's happened before can happen again. And so just because it happened and you think we're past that, I'm not sure. So I understand your question. And all I can say to you is that you don't get your chance to respond to that until the next election. But the courts, yes, ma'am.
Administration is gone. Is there anything that we could add amendments to the Constitution to try to prevent this from ever happening again?
No, ma'am. Yeah, I'm like Sab. The Constitution, in order to amend the Constitution, you've got to not just get the votes in the House and the Senate and the signature by the president, but then once that's done, that issue then goes out to the American people. and 3/4 of the of the states will have to ratify that. And do I see that happening? Though I've lived a long time, I don't think I'm gonna be living long enough to see that happen. So I don't think that's gonna happen within anybody's lifetime in here, and it could. I wouldn't say anything won't, but you asked me, do I think it will? I don't think it will, though it could. It could. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Congressman, just wanted you to know we had some folks who submitted some questions online, but believe it or not, the question submitted by Ms. Alfrelia Presley of Stuckey relating to broadband and its connectivity, I believe you have answered that one. And in addition to that, you had a Mr. Robert Reese of Hopkins who was interested in your view of the cuts to Medicare, which I believe you have also sufficiently addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this time, I'd like to direct your attention to Mr. William, is it Briggs or Diggs?
Oh, Diggs.
Yeah, Brother Diggs, if you don't
I've answered
mind,
this
please,
question
of
too.
Florence, South Carolina, you've
Yeah.
answered it already?
No, I'm just kidding. I know, Bill.
Mr. Diggs.
Thank you, Senator. Congressman, point blank, we're in an economic crisis, and it's been caused by one person out of the sense of greed.
Thank you.
Is there anything we can do to slow this runaway locomotive down? Because that's what it is. And I'm gonna tell you a personal experience I had from 8 years ago. I saw a swing pertaining to my taxes. I went from getting $3,000 back to having to pay $3,000 in a 12-month swing. That hurt. I don't want to go through that again. So is there anything at all we can do to change directions?
Well, I think the American people will get an opportunity this year in 2 states, Virginia and New Jersey. And quite frankly, what I think is going to be required, I think folks on Capitol Hill, no matter what they may say to the contrary, believe me, they watch these numbers, they watch these polls, and if the vote in Virginia stays where it is today, now I just saw a poll come out of Virginia that shows the Democrat in Virginia leading the Republican in Virginia by almost 30 points. I've seen that. If things like that were to hold, yes, you see some massive turnaround in the attitude of people. I think you've seen it already. You can't be more conservative than, what's the senator from Missouri? Hawley in Missouri has already announced that he ain't gonna be for these cuts in Medicaid. And I understand 3 others, I didn't get their names. I was particularly interested in Hawley, but 3 others have announced that this bill, and Johnson from Wisconsin has announced that we are going to put a halt on this until he in the White House gets serious. That's what he said.
Wasn't Josh Hawley one of the first people running down the hall?
He was. That's why I remember his name.
Can't put the grease with it.
No, well, that's true. But all I'm saying is, I do believe that this that I put up tonight is not going to be what comes out of the Senate. That is not to say that I'm gonna like what comes out of the Senate, but I think these numbers are not going to be. Hey, put that truck back up here. I'm gonna close that truck tonight. Put that truck up here.
Act blue, y'all. Donate to Act Blue.
Mm. I don't know how many more questions we got. Go ahead.
You have quite a few, Congressman. I think we'll run out of time before we run out of questions. This question comes from Chandler Bradham of Lake City. Is Chandler here? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Representative Clyburn, your leadership on issues impacting undeserved communities is well known and appreciated.
What is that?
Representative Clyburn, your leadership on issues impacting underdeserved communities is well known and appreciated.
Mhm.
When it comes to the issue of the climate crisis, the stakes are growing more urgent by the day, especially here in the South, where environmental harm often hits Black and low-income communities the hardest. Most of us are concerned that incremental approaches simply won't cut it anymore. Fossil fuel interests continue to exert massive influence, and the window for action is rapidly closing. Given this, are you prepared to support a bold, comprehensive, Green New Deal style approach that centers environmental justice and a just transition for frontline communities, and not just corporate-friendly climate solutions? Thank you.
Climate.
Well, let me tell you this, and I appreciate the question. But several years ago, I proposed, and Congress accepted, a formula that we call 10-20-30. 10-20-30 was a concept, and the movement in that was about better. We were sitting around the table one day trying to figure out how to get money into rural communities. And we came up with this idea. I was talking, and the staff said to me, the qualification for a disadvantaged community or impoverished, I think is the word that's used, communities that when 20% or more of the population has been stuck beneath the poverty level for more than 30 years. The Census Bureau calls that a persistent poverty community. And so that night or later that day, I can't remember exactly what, it occurred to me. And I said to the staff, we got to figure out a rhythm to this. And that's when we came up with this formula that's called 10-20-30. You'll see it talked about almost everywhere you go in this country. People are talking about 10-20-30, Jim Clyburn's formula. And what the formula is this: we should direct at least 10% of all appropriated funds in this category to those communities where 20% or more of the population has been stuck beneath the poverty level for the last 30 years, 10-20-30. So this program was in place for a while, and I was down in right outside of Somerville, which is not in my district. A part of Dorchester County is, but this school was in Somerville. And the school, I was there because they were giving glasses to elementary school children. And they wanted me to come to present these glasses to the kids. And so I went. And so after the program, this lady comes up to me, says, I need to ask you a question. I said, okay. She said, explain to me this 10-20-30 business. So I explained to her just like I just explained to you. And then she stepped back and she looked at me and she says, that sounds like reparations. And I looked at her and I said, so? What's your point? I says, now, so my question, every time I'm asked about something with a label, if I'm doing the climate program, I chair the task force on what I call environmental justice. I chair that. And we're achieving everything that you can point to that tell me is the goal in the Green New Deal. So my question is, are you interested in the result, or do you want the label? That's the question. And that's the same thing I said to people about reparations. So we need reparations. I said, well, if this is achieving what you say you need, you're telling me it's only acceptable if I call it what you want it to be called. So I'm not going to use that term. I don't ever use it because it is, let's just say, is poisonous. And so I don't use the term. But you will not find a single thing that's laid out that we are in pursuit of. I said to a lot of my young friends today who measure everything by how many hits you get on the internet. I don't care about internet hits. As I said to them, do the hits mean that many people are following you? Or are you sure they are trolling you? That's what you have to be careful of. Do you want to make a headline or do you want to make headway? So that's me. And you won't find a single thing that anybody has ever laid out in this program that we are not doing very methodically. And so you aren't going to hear Jim Clyburn yelling catchphrases. Because you remember, I got in some trouble about this a couple of years ago when someone said to me, and this was John Lewis and I, just before John Lewis went home and I'm not saying this in a morbid way, John and I were very close friends. I mean, we were close friends from the time we were 19 years old. Very close in the House of Representatives. And just before he left, he came to me earlier to tell me the diagnosis. It was terminal. He was not going to live much longer. And the day before he went on to transition, he asked me to join him in the back of the chamber. And I sat down with John. And here's what John said to me. He said, Jim, I'm afraid that this slogan, defund the police, is going to do to us what Burn Baby Burn did back in the 60s. He said, I'm afraid of that. He said, I hope. He said, I'm not going to be here to fight with you, but I hope you won't give up on this fight. And I talked to John. His chief put the phone on his shoulder. I talked to John just a few hours before he passed away. And that's just what I'm very passionate about. I think that we allow sloganeering to get in the way of making progress. And when people tell me, well, we don't really mean defund the police. Well, if you don't mean it, don't say it. So, so you get people all upset about the terms you use, and we can't get the programs. I got relatives who are police officers. I don't want to see them defunded, and I don't think anybody mean that. So we have to be careful about this. And so, yes, nobody is more committed to environmental justice than I am. And the record is clear. But I'm not going to call it the Green New Deal, because I don't know what you call it. I'm going to call it getting justice done on the environmental issues.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question will come from Mayor Jesse Parker of Greeleyville.
It's working? Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
Okay, my question is more, it's an infrastructure question and it deals with funding. And this is probably a question for the senator and yourself, Congressman. We have issues, and I'm speaking for small municipalities, small cities that don't have a whole lot of monies. We talking budgets less than $1 million that we work on annually. And for the most part, we can't do major things unless we get help from, mostly USDA when it comes to the federal level. And the problem is here of late, we were doing 25-75 match with USDA funds. Then here, maybe a year or so ago, it went from 25-75 to 50-50. We're doing a project that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million. 75-25 means the town would have to come up with $2,500,000. Now, all of a sudden, with the same project, the town has to come up with a 50-50 match, which is $5 million, wherein we struggle to match it at the 25-75.
Sure.
And my thing is, I would hope that the state and federal government at times would put funds out there that smaller municipalities could apply for
Sure.
amongst each other, instead of we applying for the same funds that Greenville, Charleston, and all these
I
other
agree.
places that got the millions of dollars that they can match with, and we can't. So it just put us at a standstill for trying to fund projects. We put together some of the
Sure.
best projects, some of the most needed projects, but simply because the match is just that high, we can't do anything with it. So
I agree, and that is a big, big problem all over. And I work on that's part of what 10, 20, 30 was all about. Remember, on the 10, 20, 30, you don't have to come up with a dime. At least 10% of this money must be directed to you and to those kinds of communities. But if you fall into that category of 20% or more of the population having been stuck for the last 30 years. Now, which town is yours?
Greeleyville.
Greeleyville. I don't know, Greeleyville,
Yes,
you qualify.
yes.
You qualify. So what I would do is get with my staff. Where's Dalton? He probably sneaked out already. Well, John Rickenbacker is here. He is in the Columbia office. That gentleman right there. I want you to talk to him and let's see what we can do about that.
we have a project now that's been battling back and forth, and it's in Washington. And this is the guy that deals with stuff after he gets to Washington.
No, he works for Lake City. She ain't gonna learn him to you. He works for Lake City. If Mike said he'll talk to you. Anybody else back there? Mike, stand up. Anybody else need somebody in Washington? He's good. He's good. Because it doesn't come for free though. But really, serious about this. Talk to him and let's see whether or not it's possible. There's Dalton there. Dalton, this gentleman want to talk to you afterwards. Give him your card. Don't give him mine. Give him a card, then call Dalton, because I would like to look at that. Really, I'm serious about that. We'll see whether or not we can do something.
Thank you, Congressman. And I will just tell you, and the gentleman's really a good friend of the congressman, Senator John Matthews, made certain that Tier 4 counties would only have to match 20%. And so that's his way of trying to help rural South Carolina communities be able to access some of those funds. And so I don't know the extent of which your project directly relates, but I do know that there is a 20% match for Tier 4 counties, and of course Williamsburg County is one of them. And so I'd be curious about the specifics of it as well. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, one more question. Who is it? Oh, you got it.
Yes, sir, I got it right here. And this question comes from Miss Ophelia Starks of Kingstree/Greeleyville, South Carolina.
Thank you, Congressman, for having these town halls. With the slashes that are gonna come in Medicaid, in South Carolina, of the 73 school districts, 67 47 of them have Medicaid percentages greater than 50%. 1 or 2 of them are 90 and 89. School districts rely on the funds that they get for providing services to Medicaid children
Right.
to run those schools.
Absolutely.
When that money disappears, what are they going to do? Because we're talking about millions of dollars right here in South Carolina, in Florence 3, where Lake City is located, and Williamsburg. Williamsburg is 89% Medicaid. Students in school, 89% of them in Williamsburg County qualify for Medicaid. If that gets cut, what are the school districts going to do?
That is the million-dollar question. In fact, it's the multi-million-dollar question. And that is exactly why I'm trying to sound the alarm, because I want people to realize and to wake up to what's going on here. Because when I ask what and why, we're talking about a tax cut for billionaires. And I mean, we try to put up an amendment to say that everybody whose income is over $700,000 a year, we won't tax anybody under $700,000 a year. Not 100, 700,000. Let's just say if you make over $700,000, you don't get a tax cut. And they would not accept that. Simply because they have wedded themselves to the multi-billionaires in the country, and that's what's happening to this money. The only way they provide for that tax cut is to gut Medicaid, put Social Security at risk, and gut the SNAP program. That's the only way to get the money. So that's what it's all about. And so that's what we're fighting. And I want to say this about those students. I did Converse College's commencement Saturday before last now, or if you don't count this past Saturday, the Saturday before. And I asked the president, right there in Spartanburg, I said, Mr. President, tell me, what's the percentage of your students here at Converse College, y'all remember Converse, that are Pell Grant recipients? 60%. Wow. He told me that 60% of the students at Converse College in Spartanburg, South Carolina, small Christian school, 60% of those students qualify for Pell Grants. And I just got to say this, huh? You got that up? Well, they got one chart here I can use. Okay. Now, I want to show you something. I'm going to show you how sinister this is, how sinister what they're doing. So they come up with this plan, and they're saying to us that in order to qualify for Pell Grants, you got to be a full-time student, okay? So if you're a full-time student, it is 15 hours. What they want to do says we want to cut that to 12 credit hours. See, right now, if you're a student at Converse College and you need to take a remedial course, just think about this. If you've grown up on the Sea Islands of North Carolina and South Carolina, Georgia and Florida, you learn a different language. My late wife was from Moscona, so I know what Gullah is all about. And we were married for 58 years. And so for 58 years, in order for that to be, I had to learn to understand Gullah. So if you grow up with that, chances are you could very well score the max in math and science. But in grammar, Gullah did not lend itself well to what you have to take on the grammar test. So you have to take remediation, which means that you could take 12 hours for credits, but you have to take 3 hours for which you get no credit. Under this new proposal, those students would not be eligible for Pell Grants, because they're now wanting to say, you got to have 15 credit hours. 15 credit hours. There's a big difference. And here in South Carolina, if this goes forward, $7,395, those students will lose. That's what they would lose. Now, that would affect 25% of those students that you're talking about. That, to me, is what this is all about. Making poor people poor, rich people richer, making needy students more need or drop out, while other students will continue to pursue. And what happens? The wealth gap widens and widens and widens. That's what this is all about. And so I want y'all to remember that last quote of it. I'm going to show you, students, I'm going to close with this. They told me that was the last question. And I want to say, I'm doing this particularly for Roger here, because I want to show Roger. Put the truck up here. Now, this truck has been going throughout my district. I mean, right now, I hadn't seen it this week, but last week, this thing here was all over Columbia saying Representative Clyburn voted no on tax cuts in 2017. That was Trump's tax cut bill. And they're right. I voted no. But they don't have to go all the way back to 2017. They can just get the vote from last week. Don't waste your time going way back there. Because I voted no again last week. Now, there's an interesting thing about that tax bill of 2017. I'm not too sure that Roger knows this. But my staff started combing the tax bill. I got a pretty decent staff. They try to keep me out of trouble, so they were combing the tax bill. And here's what they found, was that when they gave that big tax cut to the wealthy folks back in 2017, they had some tax enhancements. They raised taxes on some people. And we found several interesting places where taxes were raised. And let me tell you what one of them was. It required churches to put a tax on the free parking space for church organists. You heard what I said? Did you know that, Roger? Yeah. If your choir director is given a parking space in front of the church as a whatever, if the pastor's wife, y'all know what they're out in these churches. they had to turn in a 1099 with the value of that parking space that was in the bill, increasing the taxes on that. So I was over in Northern Virginia right after this came to light. I had just done a layman's day at this Baptist church in Northern Virginia. And the pastor did something that day that's kind of interesting. I'd never seen this done before. This is a little something for y'all to take a look at. He said, he must have a pretty good system. He says, we're not going to take up an offering today, and we're not going to have an altar call. He says, I've talked to the congressman. He is going to stay here, and he is going to have a Q&A with the congregation. Now, I wish they had taken up the collection and passed it over, but so I stayed there with him. And so somebody asked me about the tax bill. And I turned to the pastor. I said, now, Pastor, I don't know if you know this or not. The guy was playing the organ. I said, but the gentleman back there playing the organ? I said, now, I saw a parking space for him out there. It didn't say his name, but it says for the church organist. Oh, no, it's a minister of music. It said minister of music. I said, now, I don't know if you know this, Pastor, but this tax bill here that they just passed says that you got to turn in the 1099 for your minister of music, putting a value on that parking space that they get here every Sunday. He said, what? I thought the pastor was gonna curse. He didn't know it. He didn't know it. And we sent it out all over the country. People didn't know it. Now, it took me 2 years, but I got it removed. That's what I'm saying. Yes, I put up the minute. The first year, they wouldn't pass it, but the second year, they did pass it. So we got that removed so that you would not keep violating. I just want you to know I'm looking out for you, but you don't even know it. So most of y'all know he is the minister of music, so I know about that. Let me thank all of you for being here this evening. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So I too would like to say thank you. And I wanted to say to Brother Tisdale, so tomorrow, Representative Kirby and I head to Columbia. We've got other things that we're working on with the budget. So we'll do the conference committee stuff. And then the governor will probably do some veto stuff. So we may come back in 2 weeks. But I should be able to answer your question in the next 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully. Okay, very good, very good. And look, has this been great, y'all? Has this been incredible? Has it been? Yeah. Everything we had hoped for and more. So before I pass the mic to Brother Barnes, again, Congressman, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to participate in
Thank
this
you.
extraordinary town hall. Mr. Barnes.
We're going to be having, for those who want to know, we'll be having a round table
I got it. Sorry.
tomorrow. I don't know, I don't know if that's going to be live stream or not, with the South Carolina Hospital Association in Columbia tomorrow, starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I think we're going to spend a couple of hours with hospital administrators from all over the state, looking at some of what we talked about tonight. And then on Thursday night, I'm going to be at Royal Baptist Church down on Liberty Hill in North Charleston, some of what we had tonight. And we're going to be back in Charleston in a couple of weeks because of that all-night session the other night, we had to postpone the downtown Charleston town hall that we had scheduled for Thursday night. But we're going to reschedule that. So for those of you who have had friends in those areas, be sure to let them know because we really want people to know exactly what this is all about. We're going to be transparent with this. We want people to know. I don't want anybody to wake up and say they didn't know they had to pay taxes on that parking space out there. You'd be doing, all of you to know exactly what it is that we're doing. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you. And y'all didn't know we were giving away a prize tonight. Is Shonara Ravenel available? Well, good. Your credit card.
She lost her credit card. Well, just send it to her.
Shonara Ravenel? You have to.
Give it to the office.
I need to see the ID, I'm sorry. But before we leave, I'd like to recognize a couple of people real quick. Representative Terry Alexander is here. Thank you. And we have Senator Maggie Glover here. Thank you for being here. So that concludes this evening, and thank all of you for coming out. We really appreciate your